Norman, what can we expect from Theresa May a little later today?
Well, I think Mrs May will set out some of the precautions that have been put in place, but I expect much of the debate may be focused on some of the arguments now swirling around about the security issues raised by the terrorist attack. In particular, there's been controversy and criticism of remarks by the UKIP leader Nigel Farage, who suggested last night and this morning, and I quote, that free movement of people means free movement of Kalashnikovs. Now, one Conservative MP, Peter Bottomley, has already put down a motion criticising those comments as inappropriate. Mr Farage joins me now. Do you regret that remark?
Well, let's get this right. I said this in December in the European Parliament, a few weeks after the attacks on Paris, that the free movement of people, lovely idea when everything's going swimmingly, but has actually become the means by which weapons, terrorists and criminal gangs can move around Europe completely uninterrupted. And let's just remind ourselves that those Kalashnikovs that we used in the Paris attacks had come by car through several countries from Berlin. Now, Peter Bottomley, choosing to attack the messenger, if you like, well, I hope he's going to include Michael Howard in this too, because Michael Howard made some pretty tough comments yesterday as well.
Well, Michael Howard was actually quoting, I think, a former head of Europol. Isn't the issue with your comments not whether you were right or wrong on security, but the timing of your comments in the immediate aftermath of an atrocity?
Well, I said them in December. I said them 3 weeks...
You said them last night and this... I heard you saying them this morning.
Well, once you've said something, you can't unsay it. You know,
why would you repeat those sort of inflammatory comments when more than 30 people have been killed?
Because they're right. And don't think for one moment that it's just the Brexit side talking about this issue with reference to the referendum. We've had European leader after European leader in the last 24 hours saying this proves the need for European solidarity and for more integration.
Name me one other British politician from another party who has made any sort of comment like the one you have.
Well, Michael Howard.
No, he didn't. He was quoting the former head of Europol. Well, they were not his comments.
I could have gone further. You're right. I should have quoted actually the boss of Europol, who said 2 weeks ago that he now believes there are up to 5,000 jihadi terrorists who've come into Europe posing as migrants. I could have said that, and that would have been a lot tougher.
How do you think you would feel if one of your family had been killed or injured in that attack and they heard a British politician trying to make political point scoring out of it?
I'm not making political points. We have been saying for years, and particularly for the last year, that the open... We have a problem already. You know, when we had the atrocity in London 11 years ago, the people that committed it, you know, had actually themselves been born in this country. So we have a problem with jihadi terrorism already in our communities. The point that I'm making is that to open up the door to unlimited numbers of people, as Angela Merkel did last year, has brought thousands more potential terrorists into Europe, and because of the Schengen zone, they can, with bombs or guns, freely travel around the whole of Europe. And I think the EU needs a serious reassessment of that.
No one is saying there can't be an argument about security. The issue is whether you were right to make these comments in the aftermath of an atrocity.
As I say, I made these comments in December and I stand by them.
How will the Schengen arrangement and question marks about Schengen have any impact here? Because, as you know, we're not in Schengen.
Mercifully, we're not. We are just that little bit removed from the problem, but we're still part of it, because you see what's happening at Calais, you see what is happening at Dunkirk, and you realise that illegally people are still getting into Britain. I think the real issue longer term is that all the people that came into Germany last year will, within a few short years, have German passports, EU passports, and then be free to come to Britain. So, you know, not directly, but indirectly, we are linked to this, and I think the argument that by controlling our borders that we'd be a safer country is pretty clear.
How do you respond, though, to the argument of people like Theresa May that by being able to share intelligence, by having the European arrest warrant, actually our security is enhanced by being part of the EU?
Well, the European arrest warrant is an abomination. The idea that a British citizen can be plucked from this country with no prima facie evidence and put in a Greek jail and left there for 18 months without facing a charge is against everything Britain's ever stood for since Magna Carta. Now, should countries share information to fight international terrorism? Yes. The country that we share information with most closely is the United States of America, but nobody is proposing we have to become the 51st state to make that work. Outside the European Union, we can still cooperate with our European friends, and for goodness sake, Interpol has been around since the 1920s. Nation states should cooperate.
And yet Theresa May is no pro-European. Many thought she might actually campaign on your side of the argument, but she is the one who sees all the security threats we face. And she is clear in her own mind the key argument for remaining in the EU, in her view, is security.
Theresa May has never made a Eurosceptic comment in her life other than a Conservative conference speech to cheer the masses, to say we must take back control of our borders, and then in the referendum support the very opposite. She's doing her job, she's backing the Prime Minister. The establishment of this country want us to remain in the European Union. I think the arguments for us taking back control are actually much stronger.
I'd just like to ask you about one other issue, which is a party matter for you, which relates to the position of Suzanne Evans, your former deputy chairman. Now, I understand she has actually been suspended from the party.
She has been suspended this morning. There is possibly going to be a legal challenge to that. It's unfortunate. She's somebody who appeared, front-facing for the party and, gave UKIP a good look in many ways. Sometimes people fall out with their own parties, and sometimes they say and do things that perhaps they shouldn't.
Is this your revenge on her for her criticism of you?
No. I haven't got time for revenge. I've got not just a referendum to fight, but a massive set of elections in a few weeks' time on the 5th of May across the United Kingdom.
Nigel Farage, thanks so much.